press go live, yeah?
Yeah. Hello and good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, depending on whereabouts in the world you are. And I'd love to know. So come and let me know. What time is it where you are, and what are you doing, and why you're watching? Are you a member of my Half Yard Club? Or are you just interested in what it is and what we're doing here? Well, basically, let me tell you a little bit about the club and who we are. We are me, Debbie Shaw, but not just me. There's a whole team over at Search Press, and my daughter who's with me now, and my husband who sets up the lighting, that work on bringing you every single month a brand new project which has been designed exclusively by me. Not only will you have a project which could be anything from quilting to homewares to crafty projects, lots and lots of different techniques involved, but you'll have a downloadable pattern and step-by-step instructions as well. And on top of that monthly project, you also have a couple of extra projects thrown in as well. They could be anything. No videos for those, just the step-by-step instructions. And on top of that, there are hints and techniques, and we haven't finished there because this is a live Facebook stream at the moment. This happens once a month, and it will be held on the website, so you can watch this over and over again. You don't have to watch live. If you want to comment throughout the live stream, it needs to be live. But if you don't do Facebook, then you may be catching up right now on YouTube, so hello to you too. Members have a chance to send me or email me through a link on the website any questions that they need to ask. And when I have enough questions on a particular project, then we'll spend the time talking about that. So I've had lots of questions about measuring for dressmaking. I've had lots of questions about dressmaking, but we're only here for half an hour or 45 minutes or so I'm not going to have a chance to tell you how to measure yourself, how to cut out a pattern, how to do a full bust adjustment, and how to fit the pattern to yourself and make up an outfit. So this session we're going to be talking about measuring yourself. Going forward, the full bust adjustment, the small bust adjustment, the hip adjustment, the back adjustment, the sway back adjustments, those are all going to be in techniques which are going to start appearing on the site. Maybe from next February onwards. We're trying to work on those at the moment. So basically we're building up a resource, a library of information and inspiration that you can come to when you want a project or when you need some advice or you don't understand anything from needles to what cutting implements that you're going to need. So it's a big resource, and it's building all the time. And so are you. We're getting more and more people coming along all the time. So now at the moment I can't actually see any comments. Let me see if here you are. Technology, I think it's amazing. So Cotgrave Nottingham, hello Jackie, hello Leah Louise, hello Jane Garner. Sorry about your sewing machine. Hello from Portugal, Dora. Who else have we got? Chris, hi Debbie, hi Chris, and Margaret, Debbie from Hornsby or Yarmouth. This is Bobbin. She stays quiet all day, and then whenever we do any filming, she likes to be involved. So you're going to have to come around here. Come here. Hey, come here. Come on, say hello. No, she's found a bone. She'll be back. She likes the attention. You hear? Come here. Just come and say hello to these lovely people that are tuning in from all over the world. There she is. I'm not getting too close. She's just eating a spider. Now, off you go. Go. She will be back. Okay. So this is my home. So that was the door. She's not coming back. You may hear scratching in just a second. So this area here is this is the neat bit. So this is where I do Facebook Lives, and this is where I do my filming for YouTube. And this is where, when I'm not doing anything in front of a camera, I use as a cutting table because I like to keep everything neat, and this table here has a big cutting mat on top of it, and that's the cutting bit. I will at some point show you around the rest of the room, which is behind you, which is the business end where I do all my sewing. Yeah, she's trying to get back in again. And maybe for Christmas time, we'll have a look in the living room, which is that way. I use all of the house as sets for books and filming and stuff like that, but I'd like to show you the Christmas decorations. We don't go mad at Christmas, I don't know about you. I like quite, well, she's back. I like quite simple decorations. So there's a lot of white and silver and not a lot of fuss in there. So where are we? Right, we're up to Great Yarmouth. Fabulous. So depending on how many questions I get about what kind of different projects you're working on is how we're going to theme the live chat. So I've got quite a few questions that have come through already from club members, and there's been a lot of them about dressmaking. We will be doing more on dressmaking going forward next year, but in this session we're going to look at measuring and understanding how a pattern works, because before you even buy your fabric you need to make sure that you're getting the right size. So Mary, club member, hello Mary, has emailed in saying, I've bought the Butterick sewing machine and I'm enjoying it. Please can you tell me how I can drop the feed dogs, because I'd like to try free motion embroidery. You can't drop the feed dogs on the Butterick. You've got two choices. It does come with a needle plate that covers over the feed dogs and stops them. Well, they're still moving, but they don't have any effect on your fabric. But try using the free motion embroidery foot without the plate, so the teeth are still moving. And I have it on good authority from Jenny Raymond and Stuart Hillard, who both do free motion embroidery with the feed dogs still working. To be honest, I haven't tried it, been a bit busy, but I will do. But they were saying if you keep the feed dogs up and still do the free motion embroidery, the feed dogs actually grip onto the fabric and they find it easier. So give that a try. Sue Carrier has asked, how do you adjust a pattern for a larger bust? This is one of the things that I'm going to be looking into in the techniques page of the Half Hour Sewing Club, because that's quite a lengthy thing to do. Most of your patterns are going to need to be altered with a full bust adjustment if you're using a shop bought dressmaking pattern. I haven't got enough time in one of these live chats to show you how to do that. And of course there's different types of dresses. There's princess lines, there's raglan sleeves, there's inset, so we will take a look at that, and I will be posting that in the techniques pages going forward next year. Sandra Phillips, hello Sandra, hope you're watching, says, how do you sew piping onto cushions? I've got difficulty with the corners. There has to be an easier way than what I'm doing. Don't know what you're doing, Sandra, but if I just click over to my close-up camera, I can show you how I do mine. So this is a shop bought piping. So when you sew to one side, sew quite close to the piping. It doesn't have to be right up against the piping. And as you come to the corner, snip into it just here. So on this side, I've sewn down to about 1.5 inches from the corner. So again, when you come up here, stop sewing it. Don't take this out of the machine. So as you're sewing along, you'll be sewing along down here, and then stop with the needle down. And when you can see where you're coming up to the corner, put that snip in there, and then you'll be able to fold that around. So your corner looks like this. You'll never get 100% square corner because the piping will always be round. When you put the second piece of fabric on the top, you've got two choices. If you sew from this side, you can actually see where your original stitch line was, and sew just on the inside of that. So now you're sewing as close to the actual piping inside the binding as you possibly can. Sew around the corner carefully, and then before you actually finish, turn your work the right side out, and if you're not close enough, if you see any stitches here, then you can simply turn it back again and sew round again the right way. So I hope that helps you. We do have actually in December, on December the 7th, on the techniques page of the Half Yard Sewing Club website, there's going to be techniques on piping. So watch out for that, that's not very far away. All right, and I've got a lengthy one from Alison who says, been watching a lot of demos on YouTube and wondered if you could advise what type of wadding you use for the little blue and yellow box bag with the yellow wet bean straps. It has some type of spongy wadding. I'll tell you what the nicest one. And again, this is something that you'll see on the website. This is a Bosal. This is a sewing, but it was confusable as well. But it's a fleece. So it's actually a polyester fabric. It's nice and soft. It doesn't give a really, really stiff look to your bag. It's great for quilting as well, although it is polyester. A lot of you would prefer to use a cotton. Yeah, and some of them are, so some of them are fusible, some of them you could use a repositionable spray on there, a fabric spray to adhere those to your fabric. And Alison was also asking, can you hear bones being chewed? Keeping her reasonably quiet. She's bought a Brother FS 130, very nice. Would it take the standard needle that's on it when it arrives? That fleece isn't stiff, it's soft, so a standard universal needle will be absolutely fine. You don't need a special needle to sew through it. So yes, the one with the gold top, the organ needle, is going to be absolutely fine. We do have, on the 1st of December, again on the techniques page on the website, a size chart for needles. So that'll give you an idea of what sewing machine needles are size-wise and what those sizes relate to in the different thicknesses of fabric that you're going to be using them with. All right, where are we? Have we had any more comments since Margaret from Great Yarmouth? Seems a little quiet out there. Do let me know where you are, what you're doing. Maybe that's just me. Okay. Oh. My daughter's just crawled into the room on her knee. I thought it was a small child. What are you doing? What are you doing now? Look at me. Have I got any more comments since Debbie from Great Yarmouth? If I'm getting something wrong here, she's going to my hands and knees crawling back round here and trying to fix it for me. I like my children to be on their knees. How are we doing? Measuring. I've got a new mate. She's a bit scary, really, and she arrived an awful lot taller and an awful lot thinner than I was expecting. So apologies for that. But I needed a body to measure, and I didn't get any volunteers, so I thought I'd buy a plastic one. But she hasn't got a name. So a sewing-related girl's name, I think, would be... She hasn't even got a wig on. She's bald up there. But, right, let's have a look at patterns first of all. This is actually one of the patterns that I'm going to be making up next year. I like this one because I've got a jacket, I've got a dress, I've got trousers, I've got a waistcoat, I've got a lot going on with it. But before I start looking at fabrics and how much you need to buy, you need to have a look at the back of the packet of your pattern. So on here, it'll show you sizes, and the sizes will be in English and in French, and this is on most patterns. The English is inches, so it's all imperial, and on the French side, it's metric. So it doesn't matter which country you're from and what language you speak. Look on the right-hand side if you want the metric measurements. Look on the left-hand side if you want the imperial measurements. So it's quite nice that you've got both of them there. What you'll need to do before you even buy the fabric is to check your sizes. Don't think, when I've got from a size 4 through to a size 16 on this pattern, don't go by your regular dress size. So if you normally buy a dress size 12, look at the measurements on here first of all, because they may not necessarily relate to the dress size that you wear. I'm normally a dress size 12. I will make up a dress size 14. So there could be 1 or 2 size differences. So when you actually make up your dress, your outfit, whatever it is you're making, it's not going to have a size in the back of it. So just put regular shop dress sizes out of the way for now. We're just going to be looking at your measurements. So the first thing you need to do is to actually measure yourself to make sure you get that accurate. So most dress patterns are made to a B cup. Most of us aren't. So most of the dress patterns that you're using, you will have to resize them. And again, that's the technique, the full bust adjustment or the small bust adjustment that we'll go through in the technique section of the website next year. But I'll give you an idea of how you measure yourself and how you actually work that out. So take your tape measure to start with, and so I'll just get myself organised. Dogs are easy to measure, aren't they? Because the chest and the waist and the hips are probably all the same. Bit tubular. Oi, hey, come on, what'd you do? Noisy girl. Ow! This isn't playtime, it's sewing time. No, no, we're talking about measuring. I'm not talking about dogs. Excuse me. Bone, dog. So with for a dress pattern, you'll need to measure your upper bust. So that's underneath your arms around the top of the bust, which is this section here. Wear your underwear while you're measuring yourself, because you'll probably be wearing underwear when you're wearing your dress. So you want your dress to fit you when you're wearing underwear. And I'm saying that because a lot of us don't look quite the same shape when we're not wearing our underwear. So quite nice and snug underneath the arms, and make sure that the tape measure isn't twisted anywhere around. So that's your upper bust measurement. The second measurement you're going to need is the fullest part of your bust. So that's around this section here. And again, nice and snug, not too tight, and make sure that the tape isn't twisted. Now the difference between this and this measurement depicts your cup size. So if it's a 1 inch difference, you're going to be an A cup. If it's a 2 inch difference, you'll be a B cup. If it's a 3 inch difference, you'll be a C cup. A 4 inch difference, you'll be a D cup, and so on and so forth. So those cup sizes, A, B, C, D, E, G, whatever they are, go up in 1 inch increments. If you are a 1 inch difference or a 2 inch difference, you probably won't need to adjust the pattern at all. Sometimes if there's a 3 inch difference, which makes you a C cup, you still probably won't have to adjust the bust at all. Whatever it is that you're making, try and make up a toile first of all, which is basically making up the outfit, the dress, whatever it is, in a cheap fabric like calico. In the UK we call it calico, I think in the US you call it muslin. But just a cheap cotton fabric, so that you can fit that to yourself before you commit to cutting into any kind of expensive fabrics that you're buying. Then you'll need your waist. There's no set place for your waist to be measured, it's where it's comfortable. So if you were to tie a piece of ribbon around your waist or a piece of string, it's where your waistband feels comfortable. So again, nice and snug. Don't pull it too tight, and take a note of the measurement there, making sure that your tape measurement is... Oh, and use a plastic tape measure, by the way. There are some very lovely fabric tape measures on the market, and they look quite vintage, but fabric will give. You won't get an accurate measurement. So waist measurement here, and then you'll need your hip measurement, which is the fullest part of your hip. Now the difference between where your waist measurement is and your hip measurement is the rise. You'll see on a lot of skirt patterns, or if you're drafting a pattern for yourself, you'll need to know that difference there for the rise. And if you're measuring skirt lengths, then I'll show you what to do that on the diagram in just a second. For jackets and blouses, you may need arm measurements. So you may need a wrist. That's around the comfortable part of your wrist. Your sleeve measurement is from where a sleeve would be inset into the shoulders here. You know where your shoulder bone is, where you've got a knobble there? That is normally where the seam would sit on a tailored jacket. That's where you measure for the length of your arm, so from here down to the wrist. For your actual arm length, then you go from your neck. If you're measuring your neck, it's just underneath the jawline. Again, where it would feel comfortable. When you're measuring the length of your sleeve, you go from that mark all the way down the edge of the arm, down to the wrist. So again, not all patterns that you buy will need all of those measurements, but that's where you're going to measure if you need to. So, I'm still on Margaret. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I don't know why.
It's on Margaret, so just scroll down.
Oh, right. Sorry about this. I've got.
I don't know why.
I've only got it to Margaret, and since Margaret, we've got Julie. And oh, hi, Alan, and Julie from NC. NC. From Scotland. Hi, Lorraine. And Leah says hi. I'm not going to say her name. Bobby. She's a bit quiet now. And Pen from Devon. Hello. And Lisa from Peterborough. Hello. And Mary, who's sewing a board on her first Christmas quilt. Oh, I need to see pictures. Oh, I'm looking at that. I'm showing everybody what I'm looking at. Let's do that. And Joss from the original Washington. North Carolina is Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. And nice yellow flowers in the background. Did you make them? I didn't touch it. I bought them. Hi, Tina. Oh, Tina, very well. Well, Tina's one of my design team. Just pull yourself together and get sewing, Tina. Hi, Alan. Oh, and Lisa and Kathleen from Pennsylvania. Hello, Kathleen. Happy Thanksgiving, and to you too. Thank you. Hampshire. Oh, we're all over the place. Oh, Julie from Stockton-on-Tees. Do you know, my husband was up there today because that's where his mum lives. Mary would like to know how to put a lining in a waistcoat, as on the list. Ingrid says hello. Alison from Daventry. I want to see your Christmas baubles, Leah. And Sandy from Somerset. Oh, I'm not getting any of these on here. Strange. We also have a bit of a technical glitch, don't we? Oh, hi, Jean. And Julie. And Dawn. Seaford in Sussex. That sounds nice. Hello, Linda. Thank you. Right. If there's any more, let me know. How strange. Okay, so this is what I was going to show you. There is a slight blink in between cutting from one camera to another, so I do apologise about that. That's it. Here we go. So just to reiterate, upper bust, full bust, difference in 1 inch increments, 1 inch is A, 2 inches B, 3 inches C cup, waist where it feels comfortable, hip fullest part of the hip, that's the rise. If you're measuring a skirt length, it could be a knee length, which is to here. If you're measuring a full length, that will go all the way down to the floor, which is about there. And your shoulders, you remember I mentioned about the knobbles on your shoulders? That's your shoulder width. You've got a lump on the back of your neck there at the top of your spine. That's another little knobble in your spine. This is going to be your arm length. From here is your sleeve length. There's your waist. Your centre back is from that knobble again to the waist. And if you're going to do centre back of a dress, that would be down to whatever length you want that dress to be. So hopefully that's explained a little bit more about measuring yourself. So back to my pattern, and now we've measured ourselves, we can look at how much fabric we're going to need. Here we go. Right. So on this pattern particularly, I'm going to make up the dress first of all, which is D. So I'll look at D here, and it'll tell me if my fabric is 45 inches wide or 60 inches wide, how many yards or how many meters of fabric I'm going to need. So now I've actually measured myself and I know which size I'm going to go for. Now I know how much fabric I'm going to need for each one of these. It'll also tell me if there's any interfacing that I need and if there's any zips or anything like that that are needed as well. So now you're allowed to go and buy your fabric. If you're working with a pattern with stretch fabric, and I'm going to be working on this one at some point next year as well, you may see a black bar like this across the back. It may be on the inside here. If you take your fabric and lay it across the black section and then pull it to the end of the white section, you need to have this much stretch in your fabric at least for the pattern to be able to work. So when you bought your pattern, if you take that to the fabric shop with you and literally hold it there and then stretch, then you'll know that you've got enough give in there to get a stretch fabric over your head. Your fabric's all recommended on here as well, so they do suggest fabrics. This is stretch knits, sweater knits, double knits, sweatshirt fleece and cotton knits as well. So there's a lot of information on the packaging to your pattern that you need to take on board before you even think about fabric choices. You're not cutting your pattern out yet though, because the next thing we're going to do is take a look at the instructions. Because again, you've got so much information on here which you're going to find really useful. So all of the instructions to make up every one of the outfits, if there's more than one, are all included in here. But what is really important is how to lay out your pattern pieces to make the most of your fabric. Because most of these pieces of fabric are folded, but with the different widths of fabric, there are ways of placing the pattern on the fabric to make the most of it, because the last thing that we want to do is to waste anything. So when you've got your head around that, also take a look at your pattern pieces and what you're going to need for each pattern piece. So for instance, I've got all of these different patterns on here. The jacket, the trousers, the waistcoat. D is the dress. So I know if I'm going to make the dress, first of all, I'm going to need pattern pieces 12, 13, 15, 16, 11 and 14. What I suggest you do with patterns is to cut them out roughly, first of all, like I have with these, and then iron them. It's always really important to iron your patterns, because if you don't, and there's a little crease in your pattern like this, you're not going to get an accurate cut when you cut these out. So iron the paper. It may be tissue paper like this one, it may be a little bit firmer depending on the company of the pattern that you're going with, but they will iron. Don't be afraid of them. They'll tear very easily, but you will be able to iron those and make sure they're perfectly flat. Now these are all of the different sizes that you have. So on this pattern, I've got from size 4 all the way through to a size 16. To make it easier, if you're a beginner sewer, you may find it useful. So I would be making up a size 14 for me, would be to draw around the edge and a coloured pen. All of the different sizes have got different widths of dots, so that does make it quite easy. So I know with my size 14, I'm going to be following this line here. So it may be worth doing that before you start cutting out the pattern. And then, actually, if you wanted to make more than one of these, you could transfer this onto pattern paper, so you don't actually have to cut out your pattern here. This around there, and then we're back down to this side here. Cutting out your pattern pieces accurately is really important. No matter what it is you're making, your pattern pieces fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. So if one pattern piece is 1/8 of an inch or a millimetre out, it's not going to fit together. So this is a really important process. It's also really important to transfer markings. Your markings being like these triangles here. And these will basically give you your jigsaw pieces matching together perfectly. So if I see two triangles here, you normally see two triangles on the back of the garment. On the front of the garment it's one. So I know which side I'm there. That's the sleeve back I'm looking at the moment. So that's the way it's going to sit. That's the grain of my fabric. So there will be two markings on the sleeve opening that I need to match those two. The seam allowance, which is all explained in the instructions, is normally 5/8 of an inch on dress patterns. So these markings are actually within that seam allowance. So some of you will like to cut your pattern out and transfer them so they stick out. What I like to do is just to snip into them, into the seam allowance, so I can see the snip of a marking. That's entirely up to you. That's up to you how you want to do that. Let's have a look at some of the larger pieces. Have we got any more messages? I'm still stuck on Margaret here. Shall we have a look? Shall we have a look at some messages while? Don't want to bore you. Oh, Wakefield is Pammy, and Pauline from London, and Dave's from the Isle of Man. And Alan says, what do the arrows on the pattern mean? That's the grain line. So make sure if you're using a woven fabric that the arrows run down the grain of the fabric. And iron the pattern piece to remove the fold marks, absolutely. And Deborah from Margate, hello to you too. Send any questions in while you're here if you like. If you can't answer them straight away, then I will do next time. Okay, so this is the larger piece. We're not getting through to any actual sewing in this Facebook Live because we haven't got time. More markings that you will need to transfer are these. These are dots. And again, these are all going to be covered in the techniques when we start doing this on the site. So you'll need to mark the dot here. These, that's on the size 8. Dot there, these two, and this one. And these are what actually give your garment shape. So you're going to sew those together. This is the waist. You're going to sew those together and that will create a nice shape around the waist. There's also darts on the bust. So again, you transfer these markings onto your fabric, and when you fold the fabric over and sew it into a dart, that gives you shape for your bust. When we do the full bust adjustment tutorial on the website, I'll take you through how to make that bust bigger than a B cup. Because with a lot of patterns, when you increase the size of the bust, you're going to have to move the darts as well. So it's not the easiest thing to do, but when you've done it once, you'll be able to do it on any dress, jacket, or any pattern that you buy. So it's worth taking that time. Now, these lines here, so that's the length, and this one's the waist. This is where you can adjust the length of the, in this case, a dress. So if I want to adjust the waist and make it longer, I'm going to cut across this pattern here, open up the two pieces and put another pattern piece, I've got lots of this left over, in between the two. For the length, if I wanted to say make the length shorter, this is the place where I'm going to take it from. So you don't necessarily make a dress shorter by turning up the hemline more. There is a specific place on the pattern that's advised for you to do that. Down here, these arrows are a place on fold, and it does say centre fold here. So I've only cut these out roughly. I should go over the top when I cut the patterns out properly and cut that accurately. But this side here is going to go on a fold of the fabric. So fold your fabric pieces right sides together, and then you can cut then that goes on the fold. So when you open up the fabric, it ends up being kind of twice the width because you've had the fold down the centre. You'll also see markings on patterns for zip insertions, where to attach waistbands. These little triangles all over the place are really useful because you'll have them in the middle of the shoulders where you join onto the back pieces. You'll have them on the sides where you join the sides of the front to the back of whatever garment it is you're making. So I hope that's helped with measuring and understanding patterns. Do you know, when I was little, dressmaking is kind of my background. My mum was a dressmaker. Our house, she had so many patterns in boxes. And, you know, after she died, I gave them all away. Sewing wasn't my career at the time, it was a hobby, and I wish I'd have kept them all. There's some amazing 1940s and 50s patterns in there. But I can remember how carefully she used to treat these patterns, because no matter how much you iron, you'll still see the fold lines. And whatever it is we made, we'd have to refold them on exactly those same lines. This takes me back. Don't do it now. Sorry, Mum. And then they'd go back in their packaging. That's not so bad. So that they'd be nice and neat and pristine for next time we wanted to make something from the same pattern. And again, although these may seem, I'm not going to do this with all the pieces, I'll be here all night, may seem a bit flimsy. These tissue paper patterns are actually a lot sturdier than they look. And they're made from tissue paper because you can actually piece these together and put them on. So you can literally fit to your body. So if you don't want to do a 12, but you want to make the pattern actually fit you, again, we'll be touching on that on the website. Right, we've got a few things to talk about as to what's coming up, because this is quite exciting. I'm not going to tell you about the block of the month yet. I think I just told you. That's starting in January. I'll give you more details of that when I've actually finished the quilt, so that's going to be next month. The wall hanging here, that is your December project, and that's coming up on the 1st of December, so not very far away. You're right, Bob. Not just the wall hanging. All of these projects that I bring you, I like to give you more than one option as to what you're going to do with them. Bobbin. No. Oh, grumble, grumble. So with the wall hanging, can you see just down here, if I just move that way, you've got a cushion cover as well, and there's a tote bag. So all using the same. You're a noisy girl tonight. You didn't make an appearance at all last month, and now look at you. You've been very vocal, and you're making up for last month. So you'll have a technique, basically, and a technique that you can use on different things. Stop it! You've been a naughty girl. You've eaten a spider tonight, haven't you? It did crawl into her mouth. It wasn't very nice, really. Nope. Where's your bone? Look, she wants to play. She hasn't got no names. We've got any names? Jean. Well, Jean it is then. It's the only suggestion we've had. So she is now Jean. Weird face. Tiny head. No hair. That's Jean. Can play with Jean, Bob. Okay, play with Jean. Yeah, so it'll be one project every month, but then I'll show you different things that you can do with it. We've got needle sizes coming up as your techniques. Piping is coming up, Alison, on the 7th of December. We've got an interview with Jennifer Taylor. And that's coming up in December as well. We've got giveaways. I've got a clover giveaway coming up towards the end of the month. Lots of bits, lots of goodies in there, and measuring things and ironing things. It's a really nice bundle, actually. It's worth quite a lot of money. So that's going to be on the 29th. I think we're all up to date there, aren't we? Lovely. I'm going to do a bit of a blog in December as well about my playing with Jean. She likes Jean. Don't bite, Jean. No. Just nicely. Just give her a lick. Poor Jean. Yep, so lots of stuff coming up. Thank you. Stop it. Thanks, I'm playing. See, normally, Gary, once he's set everything up, disappears off into the kitchen with the dog and makes dinner. But my granddaughter's here at the moment, so he's babysitting. So there is nobody to control the dog. Right, where are we? Missed the start. What pattern are you using? That was from Jen. Oh, hi, Jenny. There's a few patterns I'm going to be going through next year. I am starting off with a new look. That's the one. 6013. I'm going to make up the dress because I like it, and then I might make up the jacket. So when we start with the dressmaking, which will probably be end of January, February time, this is what I'm going to be doing. So now you know how to measure. You can go and get the patterns if you want to sew along with me, and yeah, we'll be looking at that. But I'll give you more information nearer the time. So don't worry about rushing out and buy everything now. So we'll look at that later on. Best patterns for a 4-year-old girl. Don't know, Jenny. You need to go into one of those department stores that has a book to look through. They've all got them in there. Oh, inherited mum's patterns from the 40s. Should have kept them, shouldn't I? Nellie sends a bulk to Bobbin. She's playing with Jean, bless her. Love a giveaway, so do I, Mandela. Jenny and Alan, how big are the squares on the patchwork cushion behind you? Can't remember, Alan, but it's coming up. I think that's one of this month's. I'll find out and let you know. That's the rainbow cushion. Oh, Sue is from Tasmania in Australia. Wow. So what time would you be over there? Early in the morning? Well, thank you for getting up. Okay, well, that's us. That's what's happening coming up. If you're a member of the club, then send in any suggestions that you like. We're going to be back again in about a month's time. I'll give you dates on Facebook nearer the time when we're going to go live again. Anything else that you'd like to see, anything that you'd like us to add to the club, then just let us know, either on Facebook or directly to the club. There's lots happening with it as well. I can't tell you at the moment, but some really exciting things happening on the Half Yard Club. It's getting quite big, and it's a really nice place to be. So thank you for joining me here this evening, and I'll see you again in about a month's time. Bye bye.